Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Hasham. Last video I have explained you about different types of programming problems. Now the most commonly used programming problem is linear programming. So in this video I'm going to explain you about the meaning of the term linear programming. What are the definitions of linear programming and what are the application areas where this linear programming will be applied. Apart from linear programming, we have goal programming, dynamic programming, integer programming. But the most commonly used programming is linear programming. So in examination also very frequently they will ask you, what do you mean by linear programming? What are the definitions and what are the application areas? So watch the video till the end. Don't miss any part of this video because this is very important. After learning the meaning definition, you can easily understand the problems on linear programming. So before starting the explanation of the meaning, take the screenshot of the points which I have written, then I'll explain every point in detail. Now, first I'm going to explain you about meaning. Linear programming is an optimization technique. In the sense, we are going to optimize the usage of the resources. We don't have abundant resources, unlimited resources. We have limited resources. And the resources also have alternative uses. So how to optimally utilize the resources, that is the main intention of linear programming. So it's a technique of specifying how to use limited resources or capacities of a business to obtain a particular objective, such as least cost, highest margin or least time, when those resources have alternative uses. This paragraph completely explains what is linear programming. So first of all, it's a technique which is applied in order to utilize the resources or capacities. And the resources and capacities are limited. The resources are material, men, machines, and then other machine time, labor time. All these are the resources, but we don't have plenty of resources. We have limited resources. How to utilize these limited resources so that the objective should be achieved. The objective may be to maximize some variable or to minimize some variable. Example, a business wants to maximize the profit. The business wants to maximize the sale or market share or production. These are the things which every business wants to maximize. Similarly, the variables to be minimized are cost, time or material. These are the things which are to be minimized. So in order to achieve the objective of maximization or minimization, how to use the limited resources. And the resources will also have alternative uses. So for example, here example I have given, a manager has given amount of resources for use. Example, man hours, machine time, quantity of material, etc. These are the resources on hand with the manager. Now, the output per unit of resource used and the return per unit of output are known to the management. The management already know how much profit we can get for each unit of output and how much resources are required for making that output. So per unit, how much resources are required, and per unit how much profit we can get, return we can get, that is known to the management. The objective would be to determine the resource combination which optimizes the goal of the firm, maximizing profit or maximizing sales or minimizing cost. Finally, the objective of the management is to determine how the limited resources should be utilized in order to maximize the profit or to minimize the cost. Then the linear programming problem, LPP, has two basic parts. The first part in the LPP is called the objective function. In this objective function, the person has to specify what is the objective. Whether our objective is to minimize some variable or to maximize some variable. That's the first part of the linear programming. Then the second part is the constraint set, the resources. The resources are limited. So a set of constraints we have to frame in linear programming problem. It is a system of equalities or inequalities. In this set of constraints, there may be equalities or there may be inequalities. That is a set of constraints. Then equalities is the constraint set indicates that the resources are to be fully utilized. When the constraint consists of equality, equal to, that means the resources should be fully utilized, completely utilized, then only is equal to will be there. Inequality is in the form of greater than. Inequality may be greater than type or it may be less than type. What does it mean greater than type? It indicates that the total use of resources must be more than the specified amount. The usage of the resources must be more than the specified amount. Then we will have greater than type. Similarly, while inequality in the form of less than type indicates that the total use of resources must be less than the given amount. Whatever given amount is there, the resources should be utilized less than the given amount. Then we call it as less than type. So in the set of constraints, we have equalities or inequalities. Inequalities in the form of greater than type or less than type. That's all. This is the brief explanation about linear programming. So it's a technique which is used to achieve some objectives by using some resources, and the resources are limited and the resources will have alternative uses. Now, specific definition. Different authors have given different definition to the term linear programming. But the most commonly used definition given by Kohler, and apart from Kohler, some other persons, Lumba and Samuelson, also have given the definitions. So 2-3 definitions I am going to explain, but the ultimate, common thing in all the definitions is it's a technique for utilizing limited resources in order to achieve a given objective. Now, linear programming is a mathematical technique for determining the optimal allocation of resources and obtaining a particular objective when there are alternative use of resources. That's the main common thing in every definition of linear programming. So the objective in resource allocation may be cost minimization or profit maximization. So while doing the problem, we come across that only two types of problems are there, either maximizing or minimizing. Maximizing the profit or minimizing the cost. According to Kohler, now very renowned definition given by Kohler, first we'll see. A method, that means a linear programming is a method of planning an operation involved in the construction of a model. That means this linear programming, he says, Kohler says, is a method of planning and operations. Every businessman has to plan the operations and involved in the construction of a model of real situation containing the following elements. So this linear programming is a plan of operations of all the activities by constructing a model of the real situation. Variables representing the available choices. So what this model contains, this mathematical model contains variable representing the available choices. That means what are the alternatives available. If there is only one alternative, there is no decision making. Decision making will arise whenever we have two or more than two alternatives. So first he says we have to define what are the variables of the alternatives. Then mathematical expression. This mathematical expression relating to the resources. Because resources are limited, so we have to give some mathematical expression to the resources. The mathematical expression relating to the variables, to the controlling conditions. That means restraints, constraints. Our activity is restricted by these variables called resources. reflecting the criteria to be used in measuring the benefits desirable, derivable from each of the possible plans. That means reflecting the criteria to be used. How the resources will be utilized, whether we have greater than type or less than type or equal to type. Then establishing the objective. Finally, the objective should be either to maximize or to minimize. This is the definition given by Kohler. The method may be so devised as to ensure the selection of best of large number of alternatives. That means the linear programming procedure is designed in such a way that it should maximize some variable or to minimize some other variable. This is the definition given by Kohler. Another very famous definition given by Samuelson, Dorfman and Solow defines linear programming as the analysis of the problem. Analysis of the problem in which a linear function or of a number of variable is to be minimized, is to be maximized or minimized. See here, what this Samuelson, Dorfman, Solow says, it's an analyzing the problem. This linear programming is the technique of analyzing the problem in which a linear function. What is linear? In the previous video I have explained you, linear means when there is proportional relationship between the variables. There is proportional. For example, if 1 unit consumes 1 kilogram of material, then 2 units must consume 2 kilogram of material. Similarly, 1 unit gives 10 rupees of profit, 2 units must give 20 rupees of profit. Then only we can say linear relationship. So here of a number of variable, that is to maximized or minimized. When those variables are subject to number of restraints, that means the variables in the constraints are having restrictions. We don't have unlimited, and in the form of linear inequalities. Now, in the words of Lumba, another author has given the definition of linear programming. Linear programming is only one of the aspects of what has been called a system approach to management. Lumba says this linear programming is a system approach to the management to solve the problems, and wherein all the programs are designed and evaluated in terms of their ultimate effects. All these programs are designed, ultimate effect, what will be on the objective, effect in the realization of business objectives. Finally, Lumba says that all these planning systems approach will be implemented in order to attain the objective of the business. So these three definitions I have given, and in examination you may be asked to give 1 or 2 definitions regarding linear programming. Now, the main points of linear programming are: linear programming is one of the most widely used and best understood operation research technique. In the whole operation research, the most widely used technique is linear programming, right? And the linear programming is concerned the problem of allocating the limited resources among competitive activities in an optimal manner. We have limited resources, limited material, limited time, limited machine hours, limited labor hours. All these are limited. How to allocate these resources in an optimal manner so that we can achieve the objectives. The allocation process involves assigning resources to specific activities. That means material is there. How to allocate the material among different products? Because all the products are not equally profitable. Some products are more profitable, some products are less profitable. So how to allocate the resources among different activities in such a way that the defined objectives are optimized. We want to attain an optimum solution. So how to allocate the resources? Now, examples where this linear programming will be applied. First of all, the production manager. Production is a function in which we convert the raw material into finished goods. The head of the production department is the production manager. He will use linear programming. Why production manager needs linear programming? Because he wants to allocate the available machine time, labor hours in each department. The production manager does not have unlimited material, unlimited labor time, unlimited machine time. He don't have unlimited. He have limited resources in order to convert the input into output. So, of producing different products, he has to utilize limited resources. The production manager has to utilize to convert into production of different products. The manager would like to determine the number of units of each of the product to be produced so as to maximize the profit. Suppose a company is producing 5 products A, B, C, D, E. All the products will need the material, and the material is common. If you put all the material in producing A product, we don't have the material for B product. If you put all the material for A and B, then we don't have the material for C, D, E. In this way, the production manager has to decide how the limited material should be allocated among all the products so that the profit should be maximized. This is one of the area production manager will use linear programming. Secondly, a manufacturer. The manufacturer is manufacturing the goods in order to satisfy the demand of the customers. A manufacturer wants to develop a production schedule and an inventory policy that will satisfy sales demand in future periods. That means goods are produced not only to satisfy the demand but also to keep some in inventory. The manufacturer will make an inventory policy so that always some inventory will be on hand. If emergency arises, we should not be out of stock. So in order to satisfy the demand, in order to keep some inventory, the manufacturer will use linear programming problem. Right? Next one is a financial analyst must select an investment portfolio. Financial analyst in financial institutions like banks or insurance companies or any financial institution, they are having financial resources. Now they want to make the investment, but we have different types of investment avenues. An investor can invest the money in stocks, in bonds, in securities, nationally or internationally. So many alternatives are available for making the investment. And every investment requires the funds. Funds are limited. And every investment will give some return. And the return is not same for every alternative. And the risk involved is also different. So in such a scenario, the financial analyst will make use of linear programming in order to achieve the objective. The objective may be maximizing the return or minimizing the risk. So this linear programming is very much helpful to financial analyst. Next comes a marketing manager. The marketing manager is to increase the sales, increase the demand in the market. So how to increase the sales? By giving the advertisement. So where the advertisement to be given, the management has allocated a fixed advertising budget to the marketing manager. The marketing manager has to effectively utilize that fixed that means advertising budget in different avenues. Some advertisement can be given in newspapers, some in magazines, some in radio, some in television. So many areas are there where advertisement can be done. But we have limited resource. The advertising budget is limited. So how to allocate this limited advertising budget on all the avenues so that the ultimate objective is to maximize the sales. So this marketing manager will use linear programming. Lastly, a company has warehouses in number of locations throughout the country and are intended to serve in many markets. A company produces the goods at one place, but it has market at different locations. A company is having warehouses at different areas. For example, the manufacturing point, the site of manufacturing is city A, but the demand is there throughout the country. So demand is there in other locations like B, C, D, E, F, G, like that. So many locations are there. Now, the goods produced at the site A has to be distributed to different warehouses, so that it can satisfy the demand at different locations. Now the manufacturer, the company wants to decide how many units should be transported from each of the origin to each of the destination, so that the demand should get satisfied within the constraint of supply. So we have supply, we have demand. So both should be satisfied. So how to allocate, how to decide how many units should be transported from origin to destination. Again, linear programming will be very much helpful in transportation problems. So these are only few areas where we can apply linear programming in order to solve a problem. That's it. So in this video, I have explained you the meaning of the term linear programming, definitions, and areas where linear programming can be applied. So if you're satisfied, give a like to the video, share my channel among your friends, among your groups, so that more students can watch the video and enhance the knowledge. Subscribe my channel if you have not yet subscribed, and buy the super thanks which is given below my video. Inshallah, we'll continue our discussion in the next video.